Hey everybody, welcome back to another tutorial on Tabletop Anarchy, and today I'm going to be showing you a different technique and painting scheme for the Spitfires. For this though, I'm going to be clipping the wings and I'm going to be trying to make a Mark V Spitfire. There is a beta card that you can use on the Facebook page, which is the Blood Red Skies Ready Room. It's got a few different traits. It hasn't got the tight turn, I think it's got rapid roll, and I think great dive. But pretty simple. Get yourself some nail clippers and just clip the wings and just file it off, or just sand them a little bit smoother with sort of a nail, a nail file or a bit of smooth sandpaper. And then what you want to do after that is give it a coat with a white spray. I just used a white primer because I'm going to be putting invasion stripes on. So the next step after you've painted it white is to put your invasion stripes around with some 2mm masking tape, and then once that's done, that's that step complete, and then it's ready to move on to the next step. So as you can see, that's what it should look like once the white primer's been applied and your invasion stripes are there. The best part of advice I can say is to leave them little tabs on the masking tape so you've got something to pull. Because I did make the mistake the first one I tried where I sort of pushed it all down, and it was an absolute pain without trying to scratch paint off. So just keep the tabs on, and then once that step has been done, then go over it with a black paint, and for that I used a black primer. You give it a coat, wait for it to dry, sort of 5-10 minutes, and then get yourself some tweezers and start pulling the masking tape off. And as you can see, the invasion stripes will start coming to life, and then your plane's looking even better. So yeah, just take the masking tape off and probably give it another sort of 5 or 10 minutes to dry. And as you can see as well, some of the spray did go into the panel lines, which you can go into later and touch up. I think I did, but by the time you got a wash on it, they sort of blend in, so that's entirely up to you. But once that step's completed, it's time to get your paintbrush out. The first paint you want to get is medium sea grey from Hataka. The entire underside of the plane needs to be painted with this colour, being extra careful not to go over those invasion stripes, so do just take your time. But basically you want to apply this paint to the entire underside of your model. Once that has been completed, it is ready to move on to the next step. The next paint you want to get is another Hataka paint, and it is Ocean Grey. And that paint you want to apply to the entire top side of your model. As with the bottom of the plane, just be careful with those invasion stripes. But once that step's complete, it's ready to move on to the next one. It's now time to apply your camo. For that I used Hataka's dark green paint to do so. The camo scheme that I used, I sort of found a reference photo online which I was happy with, so I used that. So I do recommend getting yourself a photo to sort of go to. But once that step's been done and the paints are dry, it's ready to move on to the next step. The next step is to paint the canopy, and for that I used Griffon Blue from Army Painter. I used a small brush and I sort of tried to get in there and get the canopy without overlapping too much, but obviously don't be scared if you do, because the Tarka paints do cover quite nicely, so just sort of touch the top of the canopy over, and you can and have a look at that. Also, I got the Tarka paint Sky Type S, I think it was, just to go over the sort of the nose cone there. But if you haven't got that paint line about, it's just sort of like a beigey colour, like sort of skeleton bone or sort of bane matter beige from Army Painter should do the trick. But once that's been applied, it's ready to move on to the next step. This is where you can now take a few minutes just to touch your plane up, sort of with your invasion stripes if you overlapped, or in my case where the black spray sort of just encroached a little bit onto the sort of white panel lines. And also I've got NECROMANCER CLOAK from Army Painter to paint the Spitfire's exhausts. Once that paint had dried, I then dry brushed a touch of Army Painter's weapon bronze over the top just to give those exhausts a bit of a shine. But once all them paints are dried, it's ready to move on to the next step. The next step is optional, but I used it to just put a bit more detail on. And for that you need to get your 2mm masking tape out again and just apply it to the front of the wingtips, just to have like a slight slither to apply a yellow line. So yeah, do that on both sides, top and bottom, and then once that's ready, it's ready to get your paints back out, and then we'll move on to the next step. Once you've applied your masking tape, it's time to get Skeleton Bone from Army Painter. Now this is just to give it a bit more of a base coat for the yellow, because yellows can be a right pain. So just sort of go sparingly with the paints. You don't want to sort of get raised panel, like get raised lines behind the masking tape. So just go steady. But once that step's complete, it's ready to move on to the next step. The next step is to get yourself a yellow, and for that I used flat yellow from VALLEJO. Yellows, again, preference. I grabbed the first one that came to hand, but it should cover first time now you've put the base coat of Skeleton Bone down. But once that step's completed, it's ready to move on to the next step. Once the masking tape's been removed, I touched up the sort of the outsides of the line on the wings just with the previous colour, just to sort of sharpen them lines up. And then I grabbed myself the flat red from VALLEJO and put them little markings on the front there with a thin paintbrush. Then that's all your paint's done, so it's ready to move on to applying your decals, which I used the I think just the normal Spitfire decals from Warlord Games. I don't know the right sort of signal squadron numbers or anything. But yeah, once the decals have been applied and you've sort of cleared them with a sort of an anti-shine or a varnish just to seal those in, it's ready to move on to the last step, which is washes. The last step of the tutorial now is to put a quick wash over the top, and for that I used Army Painter's Strong Tone and their mixing medium. Mixed it roughly sort of 40% wash to 60% medium, and applied that to the entire model. Washes, again, personal preference, so if you prefer a little bit darker, just stick another coat on the top, or just change the ratios, but obviously experiment and see what you like. But once that step's complete and it's dry, that's the tutorial finished. Well, that's the tutorial finished, so I hope you enjoyed that and I hope it's going to help. They were real fun to do, so if you've got some spare Spitfires sort of hanging around, or you want to challenge yourself to do it, it's well worth a go. And the beta card for this is on the Facebook page, Blood Red Skies Ready Room. So go and check that out, because they've got loads of different variations of sort of different planes. But as always, if you like the video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe.